YouTube. It's all the setup every time. It's so annoying. Just a minute. Why is that? There we go. Okay. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Facebook. I'm here all by myself waiting for people to turn up. Okay. What time is it? 5:46 on Sunday night. Be interesting to see how many people turn up at this time. I'm rarely ever on at this time. Oh, I got someone turning up here. If you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm just here answering parenting questions, just waiting for people to turn up. Facebook is my slowest live. I go Facebook, then I move over to Instagram, then I move over to TikTok. Instagram and TikTok are really busy, so I should be able to get to all the questions on here. But Facebook's a real slow burn. It takes people a while to get in. And then just as I'm leaving, then I get tons of questions. So anyway, if you have any questions, you can start asking now. It's all about parenting. I specialize in teenagers, but most people ask about toddlers. So, okay, so parenting questions. While we're waiting, I will just talk through, just to kill some time. I'm going to go through the 4 stages that you go through as a parent. This is not about your kids, this is about you. And your parenting style will go through 4 very distinct stages. Okay, so these are the 4 stages of parenting. You're going to have a baby, 0 to 15 months. You meet their needs and meet their wants. So in other words, whatever they want, just pick them up. You're starting to teach them right from wrong a little bit, but it's basically just bonding with them, connecting with them, making them feel safe and all that stuff. Then you go into the toddler stage. This is 16 to 35 months. This is when you're starting to teach them right from wrong, and you're playing with them a lot in their world. So that's the toddler stage. Then you're going to go into another stage. This is, I think, the easiest one, 3 to 12 years old. That's when you're at the height of your leadership. Your children will want to please you if you're a good leader. That's what I teach. I teach leadership. So 3 to 12. So that's, you're at the height of your leadership as a parent. Then you go into the teen phase. That's 13 plus. That one a lot of parents struggle with because they still think they should be their kid's leader, but they're teenagers now. You want to sort of pass the torch over to them, okay? So you're still there for the big stuff, but let them deal with the smaller stuff. Do not micromanage a teenager. So those are the 4 very distinct stages that you'll go through as a parent. Baby, toddler, child, and teenager. Jeez, I'm sweating here. Oh, it's funny. I don't know why. Just a sec here. Working up a sweat. Don't know why. Anyway, okay. Hi, Texas. Welcome. Most people are regulars on here, but if you're someone new, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm just here answering parenting questions. Been doing this now on Facebook, I think, for about 6 months, but I've been doing it on TikTok for almost 2 years now, pretty much every day. So this is a good one to be on, though. Facebook is my slowest live, so I can get to almost all the questions on here. Instagram and TikTok get crazy, but on here I can. Oh, first time. Welcome, Australia. My kids were born and raised in Australia, so I'm back here in Canada now. But yeah, that's where my kids were born, Sydney and Brisbane. I was there for about 20 years. Love Australia. So parenting questions. That's why I'm here. So do you have any parenting questions? Most people, I kind of specialize in teenagers. That's how I started my business. But most people on these lives seem to have toddlers. But if you have, sometimes people will say, well, all you ever talk about is toddlers, but I'm just responding to your questions. So I actually specialize in teenagers, but most people want to know about toddlers because that's the age they're at. So parenting questions. I've only got 17 people here. If you have any questions, I should be able to get to them all. Then I move over to Instagram and then TikTok, and those are my crazy busy lives. So I don't get to hardly any of the questions on there, but I do my best. But on here, it's a good one to be on because it's slow. So manageable. So do you have any parenting questions? Most people ask about toddlers hitting, bedtime battles, snottiness, kids saying bad words, kids acting out at school. Surely you must have some questions. Teenagers who don't listen to anything you say. Teenagers who just lock themselves in their room all day. Okay, there we go. I was just offering suggestions. Okay, my son has just been having meltdown after meltdown this weekend. I've tried getting on his level. I've tried ignoring the behavior. I've tried everything I could. What am I missing? I don't know his age. Is he 16, 6, 2? I need his age. He's having constant meltdowns. And did this just start? If he's 3, it might have just started. 3 is a turning point. Anyway, what's your name here? Kenzie. I'll just wait to hear the age. Yeah, if you can put down the age, it would really help. Kenzie, he's 4. Just started. Yeah, he could have just found his power, or something might have happened at school, potentially. So just a sec here. I'm going to read exactly what he said. Meltdown this week. Oh, this weekend. I've tried getting on his level. I've tried ignoring the behavior. I've tried everything I can think of. What am I missing? I don't know. Like, did he just start this? He's never had meltdowns before, and all of a sudden he just started. That can often start at 3. A meltdown to me is a fit, scene, tantrum, meltdown. They're all the same things. It's when they lose their nut, when they don't get their own way. So is he just having meltdowns because he doesn't get his own way? Or he's happily eating breakfast and just has a meltdown? Like, there's a lot of different reasons for it. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit. Okay, Jazz. My toddlers are 1 and 2, and they both have anxiety from dad working. He works roster 1 week on. How can I offer support from those meltdown for them in the dad leaves? I wouldn't call that anxiety. I would just say they don't like it when dad leaves because they miss him. Anxiety, you don't want to start labeling anxiety. That's quite a serious condition. They usually start getting that when they're about 9, when hormones start to kick in. That's when they really can have anxiety attacks and stuff like that. So just say they don't like it when dad leaves. That's okay. He should just leave and say, I'll be back, and talk when he's going to be back. They will get used to it. I know it's not easy right now, but they're tiny. They're little wee people. Everyone expects too much from toddlers. They expect them to understand things. I'm going to read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, and number 5 is for you. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is you childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with the toddler, you do so in their world. You don't connect with them at the nail salon. You watch how they play and you join in. They start to look at you differently. You get good at entering their world. That was sort of my superpower with kids. I entered their world, and they just look at you differently. Number 4, because a lot of people expect them to find their inner adult and talk to them on their level. Use your words. You know, all that patronizing crap? That's ridiculous. You get on their level if you want to connect with them. Same thing when you want to discipline a toddler. Don't say, use your words. Oh, I hate that. How patronizing. Anyway, can you imagine if your partner said that to you? Use your words. It's so awful. Anyway, so yeah, it's all in their world. Disciplining is in their world. Play with them in their world. Discipline in their world. Their world with discipline is actions. They are not about words. Toddlers are not about words. They need consistent, corrective actions, and they learn through repetition. You have to do it over and over and over and over and over and over again before they really catch on. Okay, number 5 was for you. That stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They're crazy right now because they haven't developed sanity. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, they're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. So they don't deal well with transitions. When something happens that they don't like, it's a transition. They have to change over. That's what they don't do very well with. They just don't understand that, hey, this isn't forever. Like, they don't realize, hey, dad's coming back in a week. They just think he's gone forever. Oh my God. They just don't get it, right? So yeah, they get used to it though. They go through stage after stage. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I actually know where that is because I looked it up. Okay, I have a 2-year-old recently realizing she can leave her toddler bed, and now she's coming into our room 1 to 3 every night now for 2 weeks. Is this normal? Of course it's normal. Gee, she got some freedom, and now she's doing whatever she wants. You might want to check out my Bedtime Battles course. That's one of my mini toddler courses that teaches them. It's in 2 parts. Teaches you how to get them in bed, which is the easy part, then how to keep them there. So then at 1 o'clock in the morning when she gets up, then you do that, how to keep them in bed. So yeah, it's a slow burn process. It's really difficult, but it's worth it. So yeah, very common. Yeah, that's why I have a course on it. Bedtime, keeping kids in bed is difficult. Any tips on introducing an almost 2-year-old to a new baby? Absolutely not. How could they possibly have any concept of what it's going to do to their lives? Years and years ago, my son's 34, and he's got his first child right now. She's only a month old. Anyway, he was 2 years old, and I had a friend who also had a 2-year-old boy. Now, our sons, we did like play dates with our little boys because they were very similar. They're both very passive. They weren't aggressive at all. So they played beautifully together. So it was great. So we could just sit and relax and have a cup of coffee or whatever, and the boys would just play. They were just easy kids, right? Anyway, she had a new baby, gorgeous little girl, and her son, her passive, sweet little boy, went over behind her back and took the newborn out of the bassinet and threw it on the floor. He had no concept of brain damage, brain swells, blood clots, damage, soft spots. They don't understand. He just thought, yeah, it was cute in the hospital, but you mean this thing's coming home and staying here? You can't prepare them, just protect the baby. You would not have expected him to do that. He was a very sweet little boy. So yeah, can't trust a 2-year-old because they don't understand. It's not that they're mean. He wasn't a mean kid at all. He just thought, yeah, I want to get rid of this thing. It's loud. It's taking my mommy and daddy away from me. It's all bad. 12-year-old pathological liar. Yeah, just put down no lying on the behavior board. And every time they lie, there's a consequence. Check that out. But and when I put down no lying, I put in brackets, I will decide when that's happened, so they can't argue it. And you want to know how to catch them in a lie? What I would do is I'd say, so tell me what happened, pen, paper. Tell me what happened, bullet point form, everything that happened as they tell you. Then maybe the next day you might say, oh, okay, well, I'll think about this. Then the next day you say, can you please tell me that whole thing again? The truth never changes, a lie changes. They usually fix up the facts to make it sound better. So that's how you can kind of figure out. 12 years old, they might be able to outsmart you with that. But yeah, that's how you figure out if they are lying. And then just say, look, I'm going to call this a lie. And let's go to the behavior board. Here's the consequence, and make it happen. That behavior board is completely free. I've been in my business now 17 years. And the first year I didn't have a behavior board because I've never used one. And I was just teaching what I do. Well, I'm level 10 with this leadership stuff because I invented it. I teach this, right? So I was teaching what I did, which was really dumb of me. But now the behavior board is that step 1. Then the week 2, you have another behavior board. That's step 2. You're learning. It's a process. And the boot camp course is from 3 to 12 years old. It's 5 weeks teaching you how to be a leader. The first 3 weeks are behavior boards. After that, you go in the moment discipline. It changes everything. So yeah, I never used a behavior board, but they're a great learning tool. Anyway, that's the behavior board's completely free. Check it out in the link. Everything I have is up in the link. Oh, he's had them before, but they are so severe this weekend. And yes, because he doesn't get his own way. That's the 4-year-old who all of a sudden is having meltdowns this weekend. Yeah, just ignore that bad behavior. I do have a whole course on tantrum busting, but the one that might be good for you would be the boot camp course. You might want to check that out. See how it goes. It might settle down so long as you're not giving in to what he wants. A lot of parents give in to what they want to stop the scenes because they're afraid of them. They're afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum. I welcome them because that behind every fit scene or a tantrum is a lesson. If you try and interject with that, where's the lesson? What did they just learn? Geez, I just have to up my fit scene or a tantrum and I'm eventually going to get whatever I want. So just make sure it never works. By the age of 4, they only do what works. So if they're having meltdown after meltdown, it says to me, you're not a leader because that wouldn't work with a leader. And 4-year-olds only do what works. Under the age, they're learning this, but by 4, they only do what works. So it says to me, you must have given in the past, and he remembers that. Anyway, check out the boot camp course. It teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks. It's all about your leadership. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. I got respect with hundreds of kids. I never worked with an easy kid. They always gave me the challenging ones, delinquent teenagers, troubled kids. I mean, that's what I worked with. And I got respect with all of them. Was that them or me? Were they easy kids? No. Was I a good leader? Yes, that's all I teach here. I teach leadership. You lead, they will follow. A lot of it is tone of voice. Also, you got to connect with them. Number 1 skill with kids, working with kids, is connecting with them. Number 1 skill in parenting is connecting with them, playing with them. Their love language is fun, right? Their love language is fun. You enter that love language, provide them with fun, enjoy them, be friends with them. Be like a mentor to them, someone they look up to. Yeah, they'll want to please you. So it's all about you. All of it. Between the ages of 3 and 12, your children's behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. You're at the height of your leadership, 3 to 12. After that, not so much. Before that, they're nuts anyway. But 3 to 12 years old, you're at the height of your leadership. All of their behavior is your parenting. Not you don't want to change their basic nature or their personality. It's how they act, how they treat people. Their respect, how they respect themselves and they respect others, that's all you. That's why you're on the behavior board, because they're not listening to you, they're watching you. So you're on that behavior board too. You have to be. You have to be accountable. Boy, you don't want obedient soldiers, by the way. That's not what this is about. That's that old-fashioned authority-style parenting, and it raises rebellious teenagers, but they usually come out the other end okay. The new style of parenting is what I call the pleaser parent style. It's the participation awards, the timeout, the use your words, all that garbage. Let's talk about your big feelings while you're having a meltdown. That's all crap, right? That raises self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They're going to rebel as teenagers and they're never going to respect you. So it's a disaster. I've been watching that for the last 30, 40 years. It started with the participation awards. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. You mean they just turn up and they get an award? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my God. Where's my award? You just got on the bus, lady. Like, it's just ludicrous. Ludicrous. You get an award for nothing. Stupid. Kenzie, sorry, my brain is scattered. We've all been there. I saw my new granddaughter, my first grandchild. She's just a month old now. We got a smile out of her. So it's very exciting being a grandmother. It's not as much fun as parenting though, because I have to hand them back. Parenting was the most fun I ever had. That's why I teach it. I loved it. It was my most fun, best time of my whole life was parenting. And, but yeah, being a grandmother is great, but you have to hand them back. Yeah, it's not as much fun as parenting. It's pretty good though. You love them the same. That's amazing. You just fall in love with them instantly, just like your own. Okay, my son is giving me a hard time using utensils. He's 2, almost 3. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat the small stuff. He's just little still. So yeah, and maybe get him some fun utensils, and he doesn't get to see them or play or hold them unless he's actually using them. But yeah, don't sweat the small stuff. He's just little. He'll eventually learn. You know where they really learn that is when they start school, when they start kindy or preschool or wherever you call it in your part of the world. My kids went to kindy at 3. This is in Queensland, Australia. It was called kindy at 3, preschool at 4, and then grade 1 at 5. And yeah, there's a lot of social pressure. It's kind of embarrassing if they're the only ones sitting there using their hands and everyone else, you know, the teacher, you know what I mean? Like they get social pressure. It's only 2. I wouldn't worry about it. I have a 7-year-old that is usually pretty good, but he has a lot of sass and attitude when told to do something or not. Well, this is very interesting. Okay, this is so funny. I'm not going to read the whole thing out loud. I'm going to read the first part, and I'm going to tell you why I'm just picking this one. I have a 7-year-old that is usually pretty good, but has a lot of sass and attitude when told to do something or told not to do something. So in other words, they're good when they're getting their own way. It's exactly what that just said to me. So yeah, check out my boot camp course. And it's about you getting respect. It's about your leadership, and that wouldn't happen. Children who have a leader don't sass a leader. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. Because you've got mutual respect. A good leader gives respect to get it. That's why you're on that behavior board too. Anyway, check out that boot camp course. That might be perfect for you. It's from 3 to 12 years old. At the very least, check out the behavior board. That's completely free. It's a start. It's just a tiny start of how this all works, but it's a good start. Some people get success just alone with that behavior board. Yeah. Basically, in my business, what I have is I have 4 mini toddler courses. They're very niche courses. Toddlers are nuts, so I doubt very much I'll have a whole parenting course just for toddlers because they're just kind of crazy. I just give you niche stuff. So I might come up with one day, but the big course is 3 to 12 years old because I teach leadership. That is when you're at the height of your leadership. So that's my big boot camp course. Teenagers, I don't have a course yet because I specialize in teen crisis work, which you could never do a course on. But I could do a course on general parenting with teenagers, which I never think about really, but I might do that. But teenagers are all coaching one-on-one with me. You can hire me for coaching. Lots of people with babies do that too. So, but teenagers, the only thing I have to offer is one-on-one coaching. I've changed my coaching now due to my availability. I'm getting busier and I can't always take on new clients. Right this week I can, but I want to be able to control that. So you'd have to email me if you want to work with me. You used to be able to sign up automatically on my website. Also, I got rid of my 1-session option because I don't like it. I don't like talking to someone once, then I never get to see how it worked. I'm like, I give them all this parenting information and then I never see them again. It's like, I didn't like it. I never liked it. I had that for 17 years and I finally got rid of it. I never liked the 1-session. I don't know why I kept it for so long. Yeah, I never get to follow up. I want to know how you're doing. Anyway. Having huge issues with 10-year-old following simple instructions such as it's time for bath, pickup. Again, that is your leadership or lack of. You're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills and that would not happen. It just doesn't. They respect a leader. It's all about you. It's never about them. It's not that they are not following simple instructions. What that says is they just don't respect you. That's what that means. Okay. When they respect you, there's no issues. I have zero memory of ever telling my kids to do homework or go to bed. I literally have no memory of ever telling them either one. They just kind of knew. There's no TV unless you've done your homework or I don't know. So yeah, that's because I was a leader. Work on your leadership skills. I know people who didn't really know me would say, oh, you're so lucky, you got the easiest kids. And then people who knew me, I put the work in. I earned that. I learned how to do this. I learned how to be a leader. And leaders are fun. You want to be friends with your kids. I didn't want obedient soldiers. I wanted little mini friends. And we were like best friends. It was a riot. It was the most fun I ever had was parenting, right through the teen years. When you become good at this, they'll tell you everything right through the teen years. You don't always want to hear it, but they're going to tell you anyway. Because it's a trust thing. Thank you so much. That is great advice. And I will now refrain from the word anxiety. That all makes sense. Yeah. You don't want to start labeling kids. So many hands up. Yeah, it just sounds normal to me. It's not a big deal, you know. Someone hired me because they had a depressed toddler. And I took it seriously when I first started working with them, but not after the first session. Sounds normal to me. They just not get their own way and they get all mad. They thought that was depression. Don't worry, they laughed with me. It's okay. Okay. It was funny. I was working with someone last week and they were talking something like that. I can't remember what it was. And I was laughing and they ended up laughing with me. They realized this is normal. A lot of parents, because we tend to parent like an island. Before, decades ago, parenting was done like a village. You had your parents nearby, your grandparents, the neighbors. All moms were home. They weren't working. There was a whole village raising kids. So everybody knew what was normal and tantrums and all that kind of, that's some normal stuff. Some kids are going to do all that stuff, right? Whereas nowadays, geez, your kids look at you the wrong way and you don't know if it's like, because you don't have a whole village around you anymore. Plus you go on that silly Instagram or anywhere else where they have these beautiful moms. So those silly Instagram mom things, I don't even think you should look at that. Look up parenting fails and laugh your guts out at all the funny stuff we all do wrong. So yeah, it's parents tend to not think that tantrums are normal. They think there's something wrong with their kids because they're not listening to them and all that. You got to earn that respect, but kids they're gonna do what they're gonna do until you get your leadership settled in. So yeah, that I often say parenting's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and everyone expects you to be an expert. It was easier back like 50 years ago, let's say, because there was a village. Now there isn't. You're doing it all by yourself, and you weren't around a lot of kids either because there wasn't that village. It's completely different. You're more isolated as parents now. And then you've got all these beautiful moms out there showing how they can just do it all and they look gorgeous and their body bounces right back and their baby's gorgeous, big bows in the head and bald head and all that stuff. That's not reality. Don't look at that stuff. Okay, I got to move over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, feel free to do so. If you want to check out my link above, it's got my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, on my free behavior board, or you can hire me for coaching. So happy parenting. I'm still on YouTube. Sorry, I'll answer your question while I'm transferring over. Okay, it just takes me a minute here. Instagram. Make sure I'm on the wrong. Sometimes I sign up on the wrong channel, like my personal one, and everyone's going, what are you talking about? Okay, now I'm on Instagram. This one's a busy one. So, okay, our 3-year-old son, this is from Cassie on YouTube. Our 3-year-old son is pretty defiant with screaming no with most requests. He also wants mom all the time. Will these phase out? They will not. Oh, can you talk more about meeting needs and managing wants during the different stages of life? Good point. Okay, I'm going to write that down. You have to train your 4-year-old that no is okay, that you're allowed to say no, and he's allowed to have a fit. Parents seem to think there's something wrong when their kid has a fit when they say no. They're going to do that for a while until they learn. Like if I'd said something to my kids, and as a leader, if I'd said something to my kids like, Well, no, you can't do that. And they got upset about it. My reaction would have been, whatever. Like, that's on you. It's none of my business if they don't like when I'm a leader. Like, what I mean is, if I say no to something they can't have, and I'm being fair and reasonable, it's none of my business how they react. Like, I don't deal with attitude. Never, never. Once you get your leadership settled in, their attitude improves anyway. So that's why I didn't get any cheekiness from my kids, because why would they? It was mutual respect. Okay, someone just asked me, this is Cassie on YouTube. It's such a good question. She said, can you please discuss meeting their needs and managing their wants for the different ages? I was just on Facebook and I did sort of go into this a little bit. I talked about the 4 stages of parenting. And it's interesting because you meet their needs and manage their wants. I always say this, but with babies, you meet their needs and you meet their wants. Baby is 0 to 15 months. You're starting to teach them right from wrong a little bit, but basically meet their needs and meet their wants. It's all about connecting with them, making them feel safe and cuddling them and playing with them. That's the baby stage. The toddler stage, hardcore, starting to teach them right from wrong. Okay, they're going to go through stage after stage. Just when you think you got them figured out, they're going to completely flip and change again. That's the toddler stage, 16 to 35 months. Then you go into the child stage. That's 3 to 12. That's when they have the ability to stop and think before they act. Doesn't mean they're always going to do it, but they have the ability to learn to stop and think before they act. They already know right from wrong, but they're making a choice. And then it's you to have a consequence if they make a bad choice. I used to say to my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. Like, I'm going to be around to make sure I'm teaching you right from wrong. It's my job. So that's the child. So you're meeting their needs, managing their wants, 3 to 12 years old. But remember, a lot of their needs are being fun with them. I've just got an email coming out, I think tomorrow or this week sometime, on your children's love language is fun. So you want to have fun with your kids in their world, always in their world. You connect with kids in their world. Then you go into the teen phase. A lot of parents mess this up because they've been a leader from 3 to 12 years old. All of a sudden, the teens start to rebel. It's because you haven't flipped your parenting style. You gotta stop micromanaging them. It's not about you. It's about them being the leader now. But you only lead with the big stuff. Let them lead with the smaller stuff. Give them more of a say. You want them to be more their own leader because they're transitioning into adults, right? So that's what it's. Teenagers are actually really easy. It's just parents don't know how to adjust to it. The teenagers are my favorite age. Once you know how to deal with them, they're actually very easy. They can be moody. Yes, they can be moody. It's not perfect all the time if you get a kid who's moody, for sure. Hormones are flying. And but yeah, you got to know when to back away or when to take action. Oh, sorry. I've just got to scroll ahead here. Okay. Can you put that into writing, please? The 3 stages. There's 4 stages: baby, toddler, child, teen. Baby, toddler, child, which is a big one, 3 to 12. That's why my boot camp course is 3 to 12. It's not that they're the same at all, but you are. Your leadership skills are at their height when your kids are 3 to 12. My boot camp course is all about that age, how to be a leader, 3 to 12. And then you back it off, take a bit of a back step when they're teenagers. Parents really struggle with that. No, I don't let people in my lives. I did it once, about 2 years ago in TikTok, and I have a really big audience over there. And I think that live, I had like about 20,000 people in the live. And someone came in. I didn't know. I let them in, and they wanted my audience. They talked about their business. They started talking about their business. They were trying to sell to my client, to my audience. Anyway, boop, got rid of them so fast. I learned my lesson. So yeah, I never let people in my lives. They were actually very apologetic afterwards. They did have a parenting question, but they thought they had to give me their business elevator speech first. I got rid of them right away. No, I'm here to serve you. I'm not here to give other people a platform to do their business elevator speech. It was funny. But yeah, they were very nice about it. But afterward, what do you do if a 4-year-old lies? It's part of their behavior board too. It's part of our behavior board too. Yeah, just put it on the behavior board. No lying. Say it like it is. No lying. And then put down, I will decide when you've lied. If you want to catch a kid, there's 2 parts. You want to catch them in a lie. Say, so what happened? Pen and paper. Write it down. Oh, and then what happened? Then what happened? Then what happened? An hour later, say, can you tell me that again? Okay, what happened first? What happened second? Lies always change. The truth never changes. But sometimes with the truth they'll buff it up a little bit, but the actual facts will never change in the truth. People never change the truth. I remember a really good example of this. I'd never experienced anything like this. I was the only witness to a horrible accident. I was a cyclist and I was behind another woman in front on the same team, and she was cycling in front of me and she was hit by a truck, and I was the only witness. And that guy, I could tell he would have taken off if I wasn't there. If I hadn't seen it, he would have been gone, because he kept looking at me. He never got out of his truck to help her. She was bleeding in the head and everything. Anyway, this was interesting. It took a whole year to settle that case. I was the only witness, and I was terrified because if he knew who I was, he looked dangerous. So anyway, I was interviewed probably every 2 months for 6 times. The police, some detective, and both lawyers and someone else. I was interviewed tons of times, and evidently they do that because they already realized I was an upstanding citizen, or whatever they call it. Like, I don't know what they called me, but anyway, but the truth never changes. My story never changed. They said if my story had changed at all, then she might have lost the case. Isn't that interesting? So I thought, why do they keep asking me the same stuff? They keep the exact same question, or the different questions, different wording, but I knew what happened. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. The truth never changes. So, and that's what they told me. They said the truth never changes. And they all had each other's notes, and they said nothing had changed in my story. So that's where I learned that. Bedtime tantrums or giving consequences when in public. Bedtime tantrums, I don't care about tantrums at bedtime. You still got to follow through with what you're doing. I have a whole course on that, mini course. It's from 2 to 8 years old. It's bedtime battles. It's how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. They can have all the tantrums they want. I'm still going to get them in bed. Like, that's my job, right? So yeah, their tantrums are just a sign that they're in charge, or they think they can be. They didn't last long with me because my son was the only one who had tantrums, and he realized pretty young that that was never going to work with mom. So just follow through what you're going to do anyway. And then consequences when out in public, or giving consequences when out in public. Well, with toddlers under the age of 3, the consequences have to be right in the moment. You can't defer consequences with a toddler. It has to be consistent corrective actions. And I'm pretty quick to get everything done right there in the moment. I just say no. But if they're older, I would say, I didn't like what you just did. We'll discuss it when we get home, or we'll discuss it in the car on the way home, if they're 3 and above. But under the age of 3, it's got to be right in the moment. And I'm the same mom no matter where I am. My kids knew I was 100% predictable. They never thought, gee, I wonder if mom's going to discipline us when we're out. They never would have even thought of that. They knew exactly what I was going to do. So be predictable, be consistent. If you're afraid of them out in public, ooh, watch out for that. They pick up on that like that. Whereas with me, I was proud of it. I liked an audience. Hey, watch how I handle this. So yeah. Sorry, I have to scroll ahead because sometimes people come and go, and I don't want to answer questions that people have already left. I don't let people in my videos. I had a bad experience with that once. I'll never do it again. Toddler is recently really big into saying no to everything. He was doing great with potty training and really recently started saying no. And we asked him, should we be concerned? Oh, they're going to test you. I don't know how old they are. By the age of 3, no, you shouldn't be concerned. You just might have to up your leadership stuff. If they were already potty trained, but it depends on the age. I need the age. Yeah. And, I'm just going to say something here. You know what flagged with me with that was, should we be concerned? Concern, no, just take action. Just be a leader. Like, concern makes it sound like you're worried about it. Just say, oh, well, all of a sudden they're being a pain. I know how to deal with it. So we're going to if you're a leader, you don't need to be concerned. You just take action. You just follow through with your leadership stuff. Anyway, check out my boot camp course if they're 3 and over, because 3 to 12 years old is when that boot camp. It's all about your leadership. So yeah, if my kids were doing something, I don't think I would have been concerned. I would have just said, hey, this is what's going to happen. So just take action. It almost sounded like you're coming from a place of weakness and fear. Should we be concerned? Like they're not doing the right thing? I'd go, oh, that ain't working. Okay, let's do this. Hello, do you have a suitable negative deprivation consequence other than media blackout for 3-year-old? Oh, you've been watching me for a while. Okay. But on the behavior board, there are two consequences for children. One is a positive action. The second one is the negative deprivation. It's harder to get them to do something than it is to take something away. So you always start with the first one. If they do something bad, you replace it with them doing something good, like a good deed, a chore or whatever. If they won't do that, say that's fine, you don't have to. So media blackout starts now, 24 hours. Or I'm taking away the Lego for 24 hours. Or I'm taking away your favorite train set for 24 hours. You never take away anything comforting like a favorite stuffy that they sleep with. You never take away love, but you can take away a favorite toy. They must have something every single day that they treasure, that they like, or that they'd be upset if they lost it. They might not even play with it every day, but they have it all set up just a certain way. They might have a car collection they like to look at, but they don't necessarily play with it. Say, I'm going to be putting your car collection away for 24 hours. There's always something. It's very rare, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I'll have to invent leverage. But most parents have leverage. There's usually something you can take away. Inventing leverage is when you invent something and then you pull it out from under them. I don't like doing it, but sometimes we have to, because parents literally say they don't care about screens, they don't care about Lego, they don't care about nothing. So we invent leverage, and it works, I'll tell you. It's next level. I don't like doing it, and I don't discuss it on here, because that's in coaching. Because I don't like, it can be overused, it can be kind of mean. But if it's all we've got, it's got to be done just a certain way. What's your educational background? I'm all kid taught. I've got no degrees whatsoever, which is wonderful because I'm not under anyone else's umbrella. I can say whatever I want. I've been working with kids for 52 years. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. And even the daycare ladies used to say, how do you do that? They respect you, but they want to be around you. I was just kind of good at this. I knew how to enter kids' world, and I knew how to get respect, but I didn't know how to explain it. Anyway, then I worked with tons of kids, all volunteering, hospitals, detention centers, psych wards, schools, and in homes. Through the government, I've gone into homes and supported parents who were struggling. So I've just done tons and tons of stuff with kids. So I'm kid taught. I learned everything right from the source. Kids taught me everything. And when I was mentoring troubled teens, they're the ones who said, you got to teach this, Lisa. No one's ever talked to us like you do. So I just get it. I just get kids. And this is my personal style. No, I've never read a book or anything on kids or parents. Kids taught me all this. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I was about 20 and I took a prerequisite course. I was going to be a child psychologist because I thought, well, it's a natural thing to me to get into, right? Because I was so into figuring kids out. So about a week into the course, they kicked me out. And I wasn't that surprised, actually. Because all I did was ask questions. Nothing they were saying made any sense to me. It was so patronizing, the way they were talking about children, being outsmarting them, getting them, manipulating them, and all. I don't do any of that, and I hated it. So anyway, all I did was basically argue with the teacher, and all the students started asking me questions about kids. So I realized pretty quick that wasn't for me. It was crap what they used to teach. This is 40 years ago, 43 years ago now. I'm sure they've improved, but it was very patronizing, very the authority style, outsmarting kids. You're never going to outsmart kids. Try and outsmart a teenager and let me know how that goes. You can out-wisdom them, and and you got to give respect to get it. But anyway, so I realized pretty quick I'm doing my own thing. So yeah, I have no qualifications, no formal qualifications, but a lot of my clients do. Huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists. I couldn't do what they do, but they're very different roles. They struggle with parenting just as much as everybody else because it's personal. It's a different relationship. I'm all about connecting and bonding with kids and how to get the best out of them and how to increase their self-esteem while you live with them. Living with them and working with them, two different things. Some stuff crosses over, but a lot doesn't. Like, reward charts work really well in a classroom. In a home, I hate reward charts. I think they're horrible. Because the message you're sending with a reward chart is you're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. You see the message you're sending? In a classroom, it's great. It's not personal. It's an institution. And it's not singling that kid out. There's like 30 kids. So it's not personal. It's just different. It's just different. So that's why a lot of teachers and that principals struggle with parenting, because they're used to classrooms. It's a very different role. Some of it crosses over, some of it doesn't. 3-year-old who won't potty train. Okay, you might want to check out my potty course. It's called, I don't know, Potty Party or something. Anyway, I trained my son in 1 day with this method, my daughter in 2. I was already a leader, so that's why it worked so well with me. But they were 2.5 years old. And it's a really good way to start exercising your leadership skills because it's all based on fun. Okay. So check it out. It's called my potty party. I don't know what it's called. Potty training party. I don't know. I don't know anyway. Oh, tantrum busting. I know that one. I know the boot camp course. I don't know the names of any of my courses. But yeah, check it out. Might be just perfect for you. By 3 years old, I always suggest 2.5 is a really good age. Some are younger, some are older. Don't get caught up in the age. A lot of parents, oh my God, my child's 3.5. They're not potty trained. Yeah, they can be. You just haven't figured it out yet. So it's not uncommon. Sometimes I've known kids who've gone into grade 1 and still wearing pull-ups. So, and they hire me and we get that sorted out pretty quick. 8 and 11-year-old boys lying, put on the behavior board, no lying. That's their rule. Check out the behavior board. It's completely free in the link, and put down no lying, and go with that. You always interview first. So what happened there? One at a time. Don't ever ask them when they're together. Interview one, say what happened, write it all out. Then interview the other. Okay, your turn, write it all out. Then an hour later, do it again. So what happened? Write it all out, and then compare notes, and you should pretty quickly be able to figure out if they're lying. And you always put down no lying. I will decide when you've lied in brackets. You write that down. So it's your call. And then if a kid challenges you and said, I swear to God I wasn't lying. And I would say this, I'll tell you what, I could be wrong, but you've probably lied in the past and I haven't caught it. Am I right? So let's just go with it. I make that decision. I'm just calling this a lie. Do you like 2024 gentle parenting? Listen, I don't discuss other parenting methods. I discuss the authority and the pleaser parent. They are opposing opposites. But I don't know where umbrellas, I really have never looked at it. You know why? So that I can say I don't know anything about it. I'm very careful with that. I don't have a clue what anyone else out there is doing, aside from what my clients tell me that I have to fix. Because if they hire me, things aren't going well, right? So we have to fix stuff. But yeah, I don't comment on other methods. It would be like if I was Christian, would I assess the Jewish religion or something? I just wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do it. I'd be very uncomfortable. I've been asked to go on panels with different parenting experts and discussing our methods. Couldn't pay me enough to do that. I couldn't imagine arguing with other people about parenting. Like I don't want to cut anyone else down, because my method, I've been doing this for 52 years. So I know what I'm doing, and I'm sure they know what they're doing. And I don't think that my way is the only way. Okay. That would be arrogant and ignorant. So yeah, this just works for me. I figured it out. I know how to do it. I teach leadership, really good results right through the teen years. Works for me. But I'm sure there's other ways. Like there's lots of different religions too that I'm sure they're all wonderful, right? That's the way I view it. So I'm not going to assess that. But I do criticize a lot of methods, like a lot of actual specific methods, like timeout. I hate timeout, can't stand it. I think it's so humiliating. Imagine if you made a mistake at work and your boss said, you go sit in the corner for 35 minutes because you're 35 years old. How humiliating. Go sit in a corner. It's just, children do not learn anything from that. They just sit in that corner and they feel like crap. All you're teaching your child is how to feel like crap. It's just so mean. I hate timeout. I don't know who teaches it because I'm not criticizing anyone because I've never looked at another parenting coach or a parenting expert. The only time I ever did was I had to look at the Super Nanny show because I've been approached by big networks twice now to do a similar show with teenagers because I specialize in teenagers. And then then they said, well, it's the same format as the Super Nanny. And so I had to look at that. It's the only thing I've ever looked at. And we have very different styles. She's not a parent for one thing, and she specializes in young children. I specialize in teenagers and all ages, basically. But if you specialize in teenagers, you do all ages. So we're just very different. It doesn't mean that, she does what she does and I do what I do. But I was never hired for those shows, and I've never seen anyone who was. Anyone who's ever worked with teenagers would never humiliate one on national TV. Imagine what they might do if their friends saw that. Imagine what they might do to themselves if they were humiliated on national TV. Anyone with an ounce of dignity or respect for teenagers would never humiliate them on national TV. So I've never seen that show come out because I said to them, if I could have complete creative control and never embarrass a teenager or parents or siblings on TV, I'll consider it. And of course they get lost. That was funny. Yeah, they kicked me to the curb and I'm fine with that. Thoughts on ignoring your 14-month-old while you do a quick job like fill a bottle? Oh, that's fine. They can be ignored for a minute. They might hang onto your leg and scream, but you're busy doing something. You say, you're all right. You're okay. I would still be talking to them, but yeah, they're only a baby, right? I used to say to my kids, I used to play with my kids a lot. So I'd play with them, and my mom was very good at, she didn't play with me in my world so much, but she was very good at giving me stuff to entertain me. Like she'd be in the kitchen cooking, but when she was baking a pie, I had my own equipment and she gave me some pie crust and we'd be talking the whole time. But she wasn't the silly type of mom, but I always felt very heard and loved. But anyway, so I felt very connected to my mom. So, and then she would just say, Scram, I need some mom time. And I'd go, okay, because she'd already fed me with all this love. It was fine. So I did the same with my kids. I'd play with them. Then I'd say, okay, Scram, mom needs some no kid time. And they'd toddle off all happy. But, you know, a huge part of parenting is having fun with your kids and playing with them. If you do enough of that, they're quite okay when you don't give them attention for a while because you've already filled up their love cup, right? What a stupid saying that is. I just made that up. I don't like that one. Okay. That's a bad one. Filled up their love cup. That's stupid. Someone said on Cassie on YouTube, I'm newer to Bratbusters. Can you define leader? That sounds like the crux of all this one. Okay. Leader's like, I'd say the relationship that's the most like what I see myself as a parent is, have you ever had a really good coach or teacher that you look up to? Someone that brings out the best in you, makes you feel good, and you look up to them, you like them. Would you ever be rude to them? You just feel so respected, so heard, and yet they still would put a consequence if you made a mistake. Like, let's say a really good coach, and you decide you cheated in a game or something. They'd say, hey, sit on the bench for an inning. I saw that. And then you go back in. Okay. And then they are your biggest cheerleader. Okay, go back in, have a great game. They don't berate you for what you did wrong, right? They're always bringing out the best in you. So that's the way I see leadership. You're bringing out the best in kids. You're increasing their self-esteem. They like themselves. They like you. They look up to you. That's the way I see it. You give respect to get it. I don't want obedient soldiers. My kids had a voice. Believe me. If I did something they didn't like, I heard about it. They had a voice, but it was very respectful. Yeah, you don't want obedient soldiers. That's ridiculous. Okay, actually, I have to move over now. I'm moving over to TikTok. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. That's also a big one. Facebook, if you want to get in on these lives, Facebook, I do Facebook, then I move over to Instagram, then I move over to TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. And that's where I say all these lives are saved, and they're saved on YouTube. Instagram and TikTok are my bigger ones. Facebook's my smallest and my slowest. So if you want to join me over there, like on Tuesday and Thursday nights, they're scheduled. I usually get to all the questions on those ones. These ones I don't. Instagram and TikTok, I don't get to all the questions. I do my best, but anyway. Okay, I gotta go. So I'm moving over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, you're welcome to. If not, go check out the link. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. Coaching is different now. My availability has changed. I can't always take new clients now. Right now I can, but I need the ability to stop when I can't. So you have to email me if you want to work with me. So, and it's on my website. It explains all that. It's on the link above. Anyway, bye now. Okay. Discard video. Sorry, YouTube, I'm just moving to TikTok. And I've got a personal TikTok, and I often end up on there by mistake, and people are like, what are you doing here? What are you talking about parenting for on here? I'm a bit dopey. I'm in my 60s. I'm surprised I can even figure any of this out. It doesn't come naturally at my age, you know? And yeah, I've got an online business, but it's a struggle. Okay. Hello, TikTok people. Yes, okay. Cassie, you got some good questions going, Cassie. Me again as well. I play with my children often, but it seems like it's never enough, and they are stuck to mom. Does this have anything to do with being a stay-at-home mom? I was a stay-at-home mom. I played with my kids a lot, but I also was very much a leader. You want to play with your kids, but then I'd say, look, okay, that was great. We had fun and we did, we'd go to the park, we'd play together because I rolled down the hill with them. I didn't just go to the park and sit on the bench and look at them. I tried to join in a lot more than other moms seem to, just because I knew that's how you get a lot of respect. Anyway, then we'd go home and I'd say, Scram, I want to do my own stuff. But because I played with them so much, then I would sort of cut it off and say, yeah, I'm going to go do I sewed all their clothes. But I'd say, I'm going to go do some sewing now or whatever. And they respected that. So you got to make sure that they're not in charge. I was in charge. They weren't. I was a leader. So leaders play with their children. You're best friends with your kids, but you're also leader is your parent, and that's the number one relationship. So you might want to work on your leadership skills. You can get my free behavior board, or it's the start of it. It's sort of like a little mini course there. Or if you want the whole kahuna, that's 5 weeks, how to be a leader in 5 weeks. And it's 3 behavior boards. The first 3 weeks are behavior boards, and a lot more stuff's thrown in there, obviously. And then week 4 and 5 it goes off the behavior boards. And that's when you're really starting to get good at it. Okay, such a good question here. Is it okay to take away treats or outdoor play as second consequence? So there's always I want to hang on to that so I don't lose it, because I might forget what you said. Okay, on the behavior board, there's 2 consequences for the kids. The first one is a positive action. You get them to do something, like do a chore. If they did something bad, they have to do something good. It's hard to get them to do that. So what this person's asking, I can't whatever, is said, is it okay to take away treats or outdoor play as that second consequence, the negative deprivation? You're taking something away. I don't like to use food, and I never take away something healthy like outdoor play or anything social, and I never take away love. Well, I'm not going to read to you tonight in bed. In other words, I'm not going to love you tonight, or you can't go outside and play because you can't be healthy. And I don't like to use treats, like I don't like to use food. Sometimes I do in coaching, we have to, because they've already got this routine with the kids and they want to stay with that, so we will use it. But generally, I don't like to use treats, and I certainly don't like to use anything healthy. I don't take that away. What you can do is you can fiddle it. What you can say is, okay, we're going to go outside and play, but because you did that, we're going to wait for 10 minutes before we go out. We were going to go out now, but we're going to wait for 10 minutes. So you can fiddle it a little bit. But yeah, because you did that, that was naughty. You know that on the behavior board. So that means that we were going to go out now and play for an hour, but we're only going to play for 50 minutes. So we're going to wait 10 minutes. Tell them at the start, at the end, it'll be a bigger scene. I would do it at the end just because I like the bigger scenes. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. But most parents don't want to do that. So do it at the start of the outdoor play. So we're going to wait here for 10 minutes and then you're going to go out. It's easier. That's why I wouldn't do it. I would do it at the end. I'd say, okay, it's only 50 minutes. Let's go in now. It's a bigger scene, bigger leadership skills, bigger lesson. I give that option when I'm coaching. Which one do you want? You want the easier one or the bigger one? It'll turn you into a leader faster, but it's harder. Like, I don't teach what I do. I teach what you need to hear. Like, when I first started my business 17 years ago, I was trying to teach what I did. Well, I'm level 10 with this stuff. I've been doing it forever. So I was trying to teach level 10. I realized that's not how you learn. I don't learn anything that way. I don't learn finance and all that stuff. And, I don't learn all that level 10. You got to start slow. You got to dumb down for me, right? So that's what you got to do when you're learning stuff. You got to dumb it down. So I thought, why on earth am I teaching this way? Then I invented the behavior board and I put the parents on it. Changed everything. I've never used a behavior board, but I invented that and I put the parents on it because I kept trying to explain, you have to be accountable too. Your kids get to punish you too. Because if you're not they're not listening to you, they're watching you. If you're accountable, they're more likely to be accountable, right? Lead by example. Anyway, I used to say all that, but it wasn't cluing in. People weren't cluing into it until I invented that behavior board. I thought, how could I not figure that out? Jeez. Got on my nerves because when I figured it out, everything changed like overnight for my clients. If your kids don't want to talk on the phone with their grandparents, is it okay to force them? Depends on the age. That's an awkward one. This is just I love being creative with stuff. I don't know how old they are. I'm going to make up a scenario. Let's say they're 8 and they don't want to talk to their grandparents. I would say, I'll tell you what, if you talk to your grandparents, and here's a joke that you have to invent something for them to talk about. Just talk to your grandparents. They're like 80, they're 8. I mean, they might not always connect, and grandparents don't always get in the kids' world and understand what's going on. So I would say, here, you have to tell your grandparent a joke. So tell them a joke, and then the grandparent, and then have something for them to tell them back. So you have to sort of work on their relationship. Explain to your parents or whatever, explain to them, hey, look, my kid loves riddles. So do a riddle with them. So you got to facilitate the relationship, make it interesting for both of them so that they can connect. I love stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff in coaching. And I know parents, often I'm hired by family members, like a sister will hire me, then her sister will hire me for her kids. And they say, we have a completely different Lisa from the one you have. Well, because coaching is personal. And I love giving different advice to different families. Like some of it's the same, but I love getting creative. So yeah, I would facilitate that relationship. Invent things that you could help them connect with. That's your job. You know your parents and you know your kids. That's your job to facilitate that relationship. So yeah, I don't know if I'd force them, but at first I would, but make sure that you're bringing something to the party there, right? Oh, I got so many ideas for that. Oh, I got so many ideas. Another one I might do is I might say, you know what? Your grandparents, they've got a riddle. What they did was they told me where to hide stuff. I would write out the answer to a riddle, and I'd cut up the piece of paper with all the letters, and the kids would have to scrabble the answer together. So they'd have to go searching for the letters like an Easter egg hunt, searching for the letters. Okay, there's 8 letters out there. You have to find them around the house. And they'd be running around talking to the grandparents on the phone while they're looking for it. Then they'd have to scrabble the word. And they could do that with their grandparents. Something like that. Like I just love that kind of stuff. Okay, never mind. My head's going too far down that way. How should I handle my toddler when outside she ran away from us? Okay, there are 4 different things that kids are born. They're either going to do them or they're never going to do them. They're born with these tendencies. And don't freak out. It's not your fault they do this, and they're not going to do it forever usually. Okay, there's 4 tendencies. Ah, sugar, what the heck? Okay, one is tantrums, one is climbing, one is aggressiveness, and one is running. Those are 4 things. My daughter did none of them. I did none of them. My son had tantrums. He did one of them. A lot of parents say, mine does all 4. They might be athletic. They might be the star athletes tomorrow. These traits often pay off really well down the road, but when they're little, they're a pain in the butt, okay? So runners, what I do with runners, they just take off. They don't look behind. They could care less where you are. You put a harness on them before you go out, and then you say, you stay with me. If you run, you're going to get clipped in. Then when they start to run, you clip them in and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. Don't do it at the supermarket. No. That's a whole other conversation. Don't ever let a kid loose in a supermarket. They have to sit in that seat. Anyway, so if you have to go somewhere like shopping or something, where you have to be somewhere, don't do it there. It's going to be too hard because they're going to scream and have an absolute fit the first few times you do that. Go somewhere, do little test runs. Go somewhere you don't have to go and just do it there. Let them have a fit and then go home. So they'll eventually learn that if they run, they get a leash on them. It's a safety issue. You harness them into the car. You want to harness them in the street and keep them alive, right? Do you know how fast someone can grab a kid when they get away from you? There are because I've worked with so many abused kids. There are opportunists out there who are at malls and the playgrounds, and they're watching. They're looking for opportunities. So you want to make sure that runner is safe. You don't want me working with your kid down the road. Not for that. Not for that. Horrible. What do I do? My 20-month-old tells me no when he doesn't get what he wants. What do you mean? What do you do? Like, no. Oh, all right. Like, who cares? If he says no to you, who cares? That's his business. That's not your business. That's him processing. I didn't get what I want, when I want, and how I want it. Don't worry about it. That's his business. He'll learn. Like if I took something away and he said no, I go, whatever. And then I go back to doing the dishes or whatever I'm doing. Would have no effect on me whatsoever. None. Let them process that. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. So whenever parents say to me, well, what do I do to avoid a tantrum? I say, are you freaking kidding me? Why would you want to avoid that? That's the lesson. If they're so inclined to have tantrums, let them have them. Behind every scene is a lesson. I never discussed tantrums before, during, or after. I should probably go into how you deal with tantrums. I actually have a course on that, the tantrum busting course for toddlers. But you completely ignore a tantrum. I'll tell you the story. I've got two really good stories. The swing story is a long one. I don't feel like telling it right now. But I'll tell you the mall story. My son was 3, and it was the second to last tantrum. Anyway, we're walking through the mall for no reason that I could figure out. He had a tantrum. And so I pulled him off to the side. It was a very loud, busy mall, so I wasn't disturbing anyone. And then I just stood there. I wouldn't look at them or talk to them. You completely ignore them when they're having a tantrum. You completely ignore the tantrum, completely. So I'm standing there filing my nails. I guess that was calling attention to myself. People were looking, I'm just standing there while this kid's screaming and filing my nails. All these young parents were coming up to me, these young moms. Oh, you should give him a hug, talk about his feelings. I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, if they only have little kids, I had tons of experience with kids, so I already kind of knew what I was doing. But if you're getting advice from someone who just has little kids, it's like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. They don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, so I'm like, yeah, keep going, keep going. But all these grandmothers and parents with older kids kept coming up to me saying, good on you, you know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, the tantrum only lasted a couple minutes. He gets up and I said, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go. He was learning by this stage. That got him nothing. What they only do tantrums to get attention or to get what they want. If they get neither, then they fizzle out. Kids lean into what works and they lean away from what doesn't work. Any attention is tantrum food. It's like you're fertilizing it. If you're looking at them or talking to them during a tantrum, you're fertilizing it. It's growing and growing and growing. The only time I would give them any attention, it's not even attention, but I would physically restrain them to keep them safe, someone around them safe, or keep property safe. So if they get really destructive, then I would physically hold them, but I wouldn't look at them or talk to them. Now, I get a lot of flack for this, not so much anymore, but when I first came on here, I sure did. And I love that. Anyway, people were saying, you never ignore a child's emotions. A tantrum is not emotions. A tantrum is a loss of control over not getting what they want. Okay, now, if you think you're damaging your child by ignoring a tantrum, you got bigger fish to fry. There's a lot more going on, okay? Any healthy child who knows they're loved and knows they're safe, that would not damage them in the least. In the least. But if you think that that's going to damage your child, you got other problems. You want to hire me because you got bigger fish to fry. So yeah, they are just fine being ignored during a tantrum. Do you ever leave a public place if they're throwing a tantrum? Yeah, I would never do that if it was disturbing people. I would pull them out to the parking lot or put them in the car and let them have a tantrum there. I still wouldn't look at them or talk to them. I would drag them out or pick them up and carry them out. Yeah. I wouldn't put other people through that. The only time I give into tantrums 100% is if they're sick, obviously, because you meet their needs and manage their wants. If they're sick or hungry or tired and having a tantrum, then I feed them, give them medicine, hug, you know what I mean? Like I meet their needs. But the only time it's a complete exception for all this, you give into all their demands, it's on an airplane. You do not do that to other people. Give in to anything they want, and they will learn that only when they're on an airplane will they get everything they want. And how often is that going to happen, right? You know what I'm saying? It's the only time. There's no way I would ignore a tantrum on an airplane. I would give them anything they want on an airplane. Are they still called airplanes? They're just planes? Why did I call them airplanes? I don't know. First time I ever went on an airplane, it was a propeller. It was a big across Canada one. I was like 8, so it was 1968. And we were sitting right by the propeller. It was so loud. And I was right beside my 80-year-old grandmother who was like this, white-knuckled, hanging onto the seat. I couldn't figure out why she was so nervous. I was having a blast. Oh, gosh. Can you further explain good deed for bad behavior? Okay, so let's say they throw something and make a mess. Then you make them help you clean up after dinner. So they made a mess, so they have to help you clean up. Not necessarily clean up the mess they just made because they might be having a fit. So you have to put it on the behavior board. So yeah, you help clean up after dinner. So whatever it is, a good deed, you did something bad, replace it with something good. A good example, it's the one that's on the behavior board, is no hitting. So if you hit your younger sister, then she gets to play with your favorite toy for an hour or whatever. There's the good deed. That's a good one. They hate that one. It's a good one. So yeah. If you hit her, she gets your favorite toy for a whole hour or whatever I put down, a half hour, it doesn't matter, or the whole day, I don't know. Depends on the age. He is 3, so he doesn't really get it. Oh, well, unless he's got some physical disability, some cognitive disability, they can learn this. They can learn If I do that, that will happen. At 3, they can start to reason. They can develop that skill of thinking before they act. They know right from wrong at 3. If they don't, they might have some cognitive issues. If that's the case, then that's different. But yeah, at 3, they can learn. Yeah. My son cries so hard during a tantrum, he throws up and I feel bad. Just clean up the mess and let him keep going. That's what I would do. And lots of kids do that. So yeah. Yeah. The only way to stop that is to give in to what he wants, which will lead to more tantrums down the road, more vomit down the road. See what I mean? It's funny when you said he's 3, so he doesn't really get it. Yeah, they get it. It's funny because when people hire me for coaching, they'll often brag about their kid. Not so much anymore. I don't know why, but things shift and change different times. But years ago, people used to often say, by the way, I just want to start out with, and they always want to start out with telling me how much they love their child. They're so defensive, but I think you've seen so much of me now, you know, I don't need to hear that. I know you love your kids. They're great. You're just having some issues, right? So anyway, they always would start out like this. And they'd say, listen, I know, because I only used to get my clients through doing a lot of TV and radio. So they didn't really hear all this stuff. So they were a bit more embarrassed. Whereas now people turn up and say, yeah, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help. So anyway, and then they'd say, oh, he's very smart, very gifted, very smart. Yes, the teacher said he's the top of the class, and he got this and that, and they're bragging about how smart and wonderful their children are. And then they'll turn around, and then I'll tell them what to do, and then they say, oh, well, he's not going to get that. And I said, you just say he was gifted. Now he doesn't understand that kicking the dog is bad. Like, you can't have it both ways. So yeah, a lot of parents make excuses for their kids. Bad behavior by saying they don't understand. Unless they're, challenged in some way, they can understand. I've worked with hundreds of kids. 3 is when I give you that age to make it easier for you. I do it younger. If I'm working with kids, they get it a lot younger than that. So yeah. How to not repeat yourself to a 2-year-old. I would never repeat myself. I say, you're going to go to bed now. If they go running, I take action. I make it happen anyway. So I say something's going to happen, and I'm very fair and reasonable. It's not like they're right in the middle of playing a game. Okay, now we're going to bed. Like I sort of ease into it. We're going to have bedtime routine. I'm very structured and very, predictable. So I'd say, okay, we're going to be starting our bedtime routine now. So let's get going. If they say no or trying one, I would pick them up and make it happen anyway. The bigger the fit, the bigger the lesson. It's okay if they have a fit because I know how to deal with it. When I say something's going to happen, my kids knew it's going to happen, so I may as well do it. They were more likely to run with their dad because he might chase them and make a game out of it. Once I've said something, there's no game. So it's happening. And I have no anger. Like there's no anger. You meet their needs and manage their wants. The discipline is managing their wants. And there's no emotions in that. None. I get very quiet. I get very, like if I'm disciplining a kid, I'd say, I get very quiet and I talk very slow. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run, because I'm very loud and gregarious most of the time. But this is how I talk if I'm disciplining a kid. I didn't like that. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Okay? That's how I talk when I'm disciplining. No emotions, but very clear, very definitive. This is what's going to happen. Do you understand? Okay, great. Okay. Now you want to go to the park? And then I bounce right back. I deal with bad behavior, but I focus on the good kid because the number one skill for a leader is connecting and bonding. It's not discipline. It's connecting with them. Their love language is fun. So I make sure I have fun. I connect. That's my power, is connecting with them. Your relationship should be based on fun and love and happiness and friendship and all that stuff. The discipline is a tiny part of this. Tiny. Yeah, I talk real slow when I'm disciplining. My kids both had Ann Walker. Mrs. Walker was just the best teacher. She was the teacher that all the other teachers went to for advice. She was older. She was just good at it. And my son, when he first met her, he had her. And he says, she's just like you, Mom. When she's disciplining, she whispers, and all the kids listen. So she'd say, now what we're going to do is that exactly the same style. It was hilarious. What are options for discipline for under 2? They're in the moment discipline with, like, they're right in the moment. So you can't defer any punishment with a toddler. A toddler is under the age of 3, and it's consistent, corrective action right in the moment, because they learn through repetition. They're not going to learn the first time, it might be the 50th time, but they're going to remember. If you 49 times out of 50 you did it right, they're going to remember the one time you didn't. They just do. They remember your mistakes. Kids are brilliant at that. My son was a teenager and we were laughing at all the dumb things I've done as a mother. So we're laughing. Remember the time you did this, Mom? Remember the time? And we're laughing. And I said to him, he's like 16 or 18. And I said, what about all the stuff I did right? And he went, what? They love all the stuff you've done wrong. And we all do stuff wrong. Life's messy. Parenting's messy. You just got to, hopefully you get it right more than you get it wrong. But with little ones, with 2-year-olds especially, you got to be 100% consistent. Okay, this is Cassie again. You got some good questions. This is on YouTube. And then I got to get going. Cassie, do you believe in such a thing as highly sensitive child? This comes up a lot. And I believe that a child is highly sensitive when you're not a leader. When you're a leader, it builds the confidence in children. It calms them down. It makes them feel safe. It gives them a lot of confidence. So work on your leadership skills, and they are very confident when they have a leader, because they've just got someone they can run everything past. They're going to tell you everything. So, and there are people who are more sensitive than others. But you know what's interesting is when someone says they're really sensitive, I've met people like this. Oh, I'm just really sensitive. It's only about themselves. Like, I would say in a lot of ways I'm more sensitive to, because I'm maternal, right? So I'm always observing people. I probably get more upset when someone else is upset than I do when it's me. But when people tell me, there's adults say, oh, I'm just a really sensitive person, it's like, yeah, I like to get my own way. That's what they usually mean, but they don't say it like that. But yeah, so it's highly sensitive could mean that they always want to get their own way, or that they don't have a leader. Or you'll look at them the wrong way. But that's fear-based. That's fear. Sensitivity is often fear and instability and insecurity. So leaders feed all that. Like what I mean is they cure all that. So have you ever been, like, how would you feel if you were, I don't know, like you're in there's a forest fire starting. All of a sudden a fireman comes along. Wouldn't you feel better? Whew. Boy, I was highly upset and sensitive a second ago. Now I feel taken care of. It's like that. Leaders make kids feel safe and taken care of. Does that make sense? I got a funny story I'll tell you, and then I got to go. It has nothing to do with parenting, but but it's funny. It's just my daughter. No, my son. Kids were teenagers, and I was a single mom. Anyway, I wake up in the middle of the night and I smell smoke. Literally, I wake up like 2 a.m. and I smell smoke. And I race around the house instantly. And I have 3 floors. And I'm racing around the house. I go down, wake up my son. And he's like, I don't know, 16 or something. And I wake him up and I say, I smell smoke. I phone 911. The fire department's on their way. Anyway, my daughter is a real worrier. She was probably about 11 or something at the time. And she's fast asleep through all this. And and she was a real worrier. Everything worried, safety. She's a safety net and all that. I'm kind of like that too. So anyway, the firemen arrive, and this is the funny part. The firemen arrive, and they smelled smoke. As soon as I opened up the door, they said, yeah, there's smoke in there, all right. So then, and they're coming in the door, and I said, and I'm really fussy with housekeeping. Do you know what I said to them? I said, I'm sorry, would you mind taking your boots off? They looked at me like I was nuts, and they said, ma'am, we don't fight fires in our stockings, like in our socks. Imagine asking firemen to take their boots off. Anyway, they were laughing as they came in, but it was the furnace had blown out. So yeah, I had to get a new furnace. But this is the funny part. So I went upstairs to my daughter's room, and I'm there, and literally they had axes and everything, and they had to check every single room. She's fast asleep. We go into her room. I've got 2 firemen with me. They both have axes, and there's me. And she wakes up, and she sees these she didn't see me at first. She saw the fireman. She went like this. And then I said, it's okay, sweetie. I said, everything's okay. And then she went right back to sleep. But it just struck me as funny. She's such a worrier, but I said, everything's okay. And there's men with axes in her room. Anyway, so yeah, evidently when firemen do not fight fires in their socks. I learned that the hard way. They thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, I got to get going. Just reading some of these last comments here. How can I act more like a leader? Just keep watching, or you can check out the boot camp course. That's all about you and your leadership. Remember, I don't teach kidding here. I don't teach childing or teenagering. I teach parenting. We're not fixing kids. We're teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. Okay. So anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching, which has changed because I'm really busy these days. I need to be able to not take clients sometimes. Right now I am. But you have to email me first. You can't just sign up on my website anymore. So thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Happy parenting.